Welcome to the Vanguard Zone. My name is Sam. I'm joined by NLK himself, Gianluca. And today we're reviewing Keiter Sanctuary, which got some interesting support, including a new red line. So I think we will start with the Grade 1. Blaster Javelin. Auto, when this unit is rode upon by Blaster Dark, reveal the top card of your deck, call to Rearguard Circle as Rest if it is a unit card, and discard it if it isn't. Continuous Rearguard Circle. During your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, this unit gets plus 2k. Blaster Dark says, Auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle or Rearguard Circle, cost Counterblast 1 and retire another Rearguard. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it, and this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of turn. Continuous Rearguard Circle. During your turn, if your rearguard was retired this turn, this unit gets power plus 5k. Phantom Blaster Dragon says, Auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, choose a card with Blaster in its card name from your soul, and you may call it to Rearguard Circle. And act Vanguard Circle once a turn, cost Counterblast 1, and retire 3 rearguards. Choose up to 2 of your opponent's rearguards, retire them, and this unit gets power plus 10k and plus 1 critical until end of turn.
So, starting with the ride line as a whole, it's incredibly powerful, and definitely one of the most fun ride lines in the set. The free call off of Javelin most of the time is just sort of like fodder for Blaster Dark, but occasionally it is relevant if you get like a higher powered unit, like another Blaster Dark or anything like that. But really, the key in this ride line is the fact that Blaster Dark gets to retire a unit for free if your opponent played one, but more importantly, gives you Twin Drive on turn 2. And again, because of the Blaster Javelin free call, it doesn't feel like a cost at all. Then the Phantom Blaster Dragon ability that works with the ride line when you call it on Vanguard Circle is also really strong, because you get a free call, which is just free value. And there's honestly, because we've done some testing with this deck, there's honestly a lot of interesting play and decision to this call out of Soul, because you start with Javelin and Dark, and then when you ride for Persona Ride, now you're going to have Javelin or Dark and a Phantom Blaster Dragon that you can call out, and it can just really, again, lead to just interesting gameplay decisions, and overall, the ride line just feels really great to play with.
I would also add that Blaster Javelin and Blaster Dark 2 are seeing some play in Hexaorb as well, in more of the Grade 3 heavy builds, because you get a Grade 3 off of that. That's a Grade 3 that you get for free, basically, which is really strong when you're trying to do form up and get quad drive on Hexaorb, which is really nice for the deck.
Yeah, and in the fail case, you just get to do Twin Drive, which is drawing a card.
Exactly. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's the same thing as the Hexaorb red line. It's just kind of, do you value the extra unit potentially, or do you value looking at the top 3 cards in your deck? And I think that's how you kind of build the Hexaorb list and set 2 now.
And Twin Drive itself just has a different value thing than drawing a card. Drawing a card, your opponent doesn't know what that card is. Twin Drive, you can hit more triggers. The cards themselves, this deck's weird. It's unfortunately quite weak right now, because overall Phantom Blaster Dragon's ability is not that strong. The cost is quite high, even with a card later in the set, the Witch of Entertainment, which counts as 2 retires when you retire it for costs. Even with that, it's just a lot of cost and a lot of setup, and a lot of time you're just going to get PG'd, or your opponent's just going to eat the crit. And sometimes you're just not going to get value out of your tire, because people will either play around it, or you'll run into decks like Grandmaster, which inherently kind of play around it, or you'll run into Zorga as well. Honestly, Magnolia nowadays, because Wild Intelligence is so strong. And and then of course Keiter and kind of Dragon Empire have things that just can't be retired.
Yeah, I feel like the thing that makes the deck not as strong as its previous iteration is that you're not gaining as much value, which kind of what made the Phantom Blaster Dragon so strong, as you're able to accrue a lot of value, and you kind of can do that here. It's just not as strong as the Phantom Blaster Dragon.
Yeah,
there's no broken cards like New Main.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have a New Main. Charon is honestly pretty solid. Maka is good, but can be a little awkward, but it's a free 15k, so it's pretty solid on that front. And then the other thing that calls is some random You know, just it's not an encounter card. It's just a Keiter card. It's modeled sort of after Gold Paladin. I don't remember its name because it's hot garbage, and I hate it.
Yeah, the deck's awkward. Just watching you play it, the deck feels awkward.
It's a little awkward.
That's a little unfortunate.
But it can definitely win games, and I think as lists get more optimized and people do more testing, it's going to be a lower tier deck, but I think it's a functional deck, so if you really like Phantom Blaster Dragon, definitely take a look at it. You run PBD in the deck, obviously. You honestly run both, all 3 copies in the main deck of Dark and Javelin, because Dark is a 15k attacker, even though it's your weakest 15k attacker, because some turns it can be hard to turn on. And Javelin's just a 10k booster that gets value because you can call it off of Maka.
The other triple rare we got is Heavenly Bow of Edifying Guidance, Refuerzos, Continuous Regard Circle. If you Persona Road this turn, this unit gets boost. Back row Regard Circle, once a turn. When your other units stand by a card's effect, stand this unit.
The sort of like conversation I was seeing around this card during spoiler season was that people were super low on it. And I've never been low on this card. It's a little weird. It's a little clunky, but I'm a big fan of the Dark Strain, all grade 3 all the time Bastion lists. And the fact that allows you to give this card boost outside of the Persona Recondition it already has, and then you can re-stand this card after boosting an Alden, is just so appealing to me. Because I was already feeling like a god, you know, just bashing face with unboosted Aldens twice in a turn, and then having whatever other grade 3 column. And now I can do that with boost power behind it. It's just, it seems so good and so terrifying to me, and I don't think there's a reason not to run the grade 3 version at the moment, though maybe with Leonard, because they can just kill all your like Dark Strains and stuff. I don't know. I love this card. I think it's sweet, and I think the ceiling's so good that it's worth trying.
To me, this just feels, in Bastion anyway, this feels just like a Widmore card. A card that doesn't really accrue as much value as you can be getting. The core of Bastion, I think, is insanely strong. And this doesn't do a good enough job of replacing anything in the core. And there's better cards in the set that I would rather run in place of this card. It's fine. I think the other thing to mention about this card is in Hexaorb, which does want a Persona Ride. There's like this weird all grade 3 build that you could run this in to kind of get quad drive off of the order that we're going to talk about in a little bit. The card's fine. I'm not like super impressed with this as a triple rare, but at the same time, you know, if Bastion got anything better than this card, Bastion would just become this totally oppressive deck. And Bastion's already the best deck. Bastion's seeing a lot of strong results. Bastion's going to be around for a long time. So I'm kind of glad that we got kind of just this fine triple rare.
Yeah, it's kind of like meh as a triple rare, but I think you're underselling like how good an extra 15k on like Alden attacks is.
Yeah,
like, that card is already impossible to guard, and now it can be more impossible to guard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a win more card. You don't really need it.
Yeah, you say it's a win more card, but in the mid game, I think it can go. I think it's more of just a I'm going to win now card.
I mean, I don't know. I
don't agree to disagree.
Yeah, I mean,
this
like
sweet.
I've seen like some of the Bastion decks. Some of them are running it. Most of them aren't. It's fine. I don't know.
I think that's just again a byproduct of Bastion, is you can kind of build it however you want, and I would like to build it with that card.
Yeah, we're moving on to Soaring Dragon, Pridefall Dragon, Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if you have 4 or more grade 3 rearguards, costs Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, and draw a card. If you Persona Road this turn, you may have this unit get power plus 5,000 and plus 1 critical until end of turn instead of drawing a card. When this card first came out, I was really high on it. And then we started testing with it. And we actually had to re-record this after testing with it more. And oh man, I was so wrong.
Yeah, so if you read this card and go, oh my god, your mind, is surrounded by numbers of all the possibilities. You're like, I can set up insane Persona Ride turns where I can attack with this thing and restand it with Bastion. It's going to get plus 10k, plus 20k, and plus 2 crit on top of the Persona Ride. Honestly, I'm not going to tell you not to try and live your best life, because that is the flashy part of this car, and that's a high ceiling. But I do want to warn you, as a man who has tested a list that was all in on getting to Persona Ride on Bastion and having 2 of these in the front row and at least 2 of the new Triple R in the back row to just, you know, attack with 30k, 40k columns, restand, have crit on everything. I'm telling you as a man who tried to live the ultimate dream of this card, it's so bad, because the cost of you having 4 or more rear guards in order to even turn this thing on. This thing does not draw a card, let alone do all the busted crit stuff, if you don't have a board full of grade 3s. And even though Bastion's good, even though it's really good, that's actually not an easy task to complete.
I would say, you know, Prison is running rampant again with its support too. So like it might be hard in your meta to go up against this and play this card, because you might not have the rear guards. The deck is very costly to use now. You need 2 Counterblasts and a Soul Blast for Alden, which is the most important card in your deck. You need a Counterblast and a Soul Blast for Form Up, which is also really important
It's the second most
deck.
important card in your deck. That card's insane.
Yeah, that card is so good, and you just don't have the resources. Also, you would need like a Persona Ride and probably like a Dark Strain Dragon, or else like a dead card behind Bastion in order to like get the 4+. And that's really like the downfall of this card. If you have 4 or more grade 3 rear guards.
Yeah, it's just, that cost is unbelievably real, and it's in such a way that you don't really realize it until you sit down to play a deck. And part of the reason you don't realize it is because what your mind thinks of Bastion is like, oh, you know, I turn on Aldens all the time, I turn on Cocobeals, I turn on Form Up now. And you think I can support this card, but those cards all say grade 3 units. So it counts Bastion, and then, you know, it's pretty easy to form relevant columns without expending resources to meet those requirements. Because this needs an entire board of grade 3 rear guards, it's just a vanilla grade 3 most of the time.
Diaglass Sorceress. Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle from hand, if your Vanguard is Hexaorb Sorceress or Pentagleam Sorceress, Counterblast 1, discard a card. Look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 2 unit cards from among them. Call them the Rearguard Circle, and put the rest of them on the top of your deck in any order. If you got triggers, put them back on top. If you got units, call them to the board. Really good. I am happy that Hexaorb is getting some really good support. 4 of, not a lot to say. This card's great. Play it.
Well, actually, there is some more to say. One, the interesting thing about it is it works with your grade 2 and your grade 3, which is an interesting condition. A lot of time, this kind of effect, this kind of powerful effect, will only work with the grade 3, but you can play this on turn 2 and call 2 things from the top of your deck.
So the thing about that play, though, is that if you're probably running the grade 1, which needs a Counterblast in order to draw a card. So it's either, do you value the extra card or this? And then at that point, do you run...
But this is also an extra card.
Yeah, but at that point, do you run this? You probably only have 1 Counterblast, unless you get crit. Then you can do both. But at this point, like...
This is better than drawing 1 card. Like, this isn't a contest. This is better than drawing 1 card.
Are you even running Pentagleam instead of running, like, Blaster Jab and Blaster Dart?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I was just saying it's interesting. I think the most interesting part of this card
is an AK booster, too, which is really good. Yeah, this card's insane.
Yeah.
Play 4 of...
They didn't even make it a 7K.
Yeah,
like,
play
this card's
4 of
great.
it. Technically a double rare. We have Stellar Razor Angel, Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if your damage zone has no face-up cards, this unit gets plus 5k until the end of that battle.
Why is this card a double R? Secondary point that we'll get to, why is it a double R in this set? But let's get back to that first point. This card is a 15k attacker. Powerful thing. I sometimes take the 15ks for granted. But this isn't even like an easy 15k attacker. If it was just like, you know, super easy to turn on and attack for 15k, I'd kind of get why it's a double R. But this is not an easy effect to pull off. Like, sometimes you'll just have a lot of damage left over. Like, you counter bars a good amount in, like, all the Keiter Sanctuary decks, but there'll be times when you need to be holding that for future turns. When you just got, like, crit randomly, you're not going to be able to flip down all your damage. Like, this is not, like, just auto a 15k all the time. There's some work that needs to be put into this card. Also, why is this a freaking double R in this set? This is obviously an Angel Feather card. There's no two ways about it. And none of the Keiter ride lines, and we have 3 of them, are even close to Angel Feather ride lines. None of them do anything with the damage zone even a little bit. And also, on top of that, we know the ride lines for set 3. And it's Meteor, Link Jokery, weird Gate chick, the return of Aquaforce, but, you know, we only could get 2 encounter charms, so it's not actually Maelstrom Dragon, and also the best boy, Evil Carney Greedon. None of those are Angel Feather. So why is this card here instead of being a card that actually helps PBD not have the worst support in the set? Which is saying something because of Eugene.
This feels like a card that belongs in Alt Mile, because their whole thing was like no counterblast to do effects or something like that. So hey, maybe it's good freebie at first, but that's the only positive I could think of. Usually I say, you're 15k, you're okay, but I don't see a place for this card right now. Moving on to select rares and commons that we think are interesting. We have the Knight of Subtlety, Owen. Auto. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if your Vanguard is Hexaorb sorceress, Soul Blast one. Look at 2 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 cards from among them. Put them on the top of your deck in any order, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Auto rearguard circle. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, costs counterblast 1. This unit gets plus 10k to the end of turn.
It's just solid. Hexaorb was really looking for, like, well, it was really looking for resources. It didn't really get that, but it got a bunch of, like, efficient stuff that helps scry and also kind of give it card advantage, and this is just another version of it. It's, like, a little awkward, because Soul's, like, kind of at a premium in this deck.
You choose how to use the Soul. Once I played Hexaorb more, I found that I didn't really have Soul issues, because I was picking and choosing what I prioritized. And this card definitely is worth the Soul Blast one. You're taking out probably your Tarteens, which basically does the same job as this card, except it's worse. This card, another, you know, Diaglass and this, 4 of each. Throw in your Hexaorb deck. Very good. Witch of Entertainment, Brana. Continuous rearguard circle. If you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, when this unit would be retired for your card's cost, you may retire it as 2 rearguards.
So this is by far the best card, Phantom Blaster Dragon, not in the deck. Classic Shadow Paladin, it's a 5k, but that's super irrelevant. Although, also, I wish it was more relevant, but they didn't give us a new main because they're cowards.
Thing to know about new main and premium, this card's 5k, this can be tutored out by new main. Card's really good.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's the best card in Phantom Blaster Dragon because it really cuts down on how much you have to, you know, egg yourself for PBD. And that's just great. It's just great. Like, you run this as 4 in the deck because the effect is so powerful, and it makes other effects powerful, such as...
Well, we have Darkness Maiden Maka. Auto. When this is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in this card name, this unit gets power plus 5k until end of turn. Then, cost Soul Blast 1 and retire another rearguard. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 1 or less unit card from among them, call it to rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck.
So when we first read this card, I think when a lot of people first read this card, they were all like, holy crap, PBD's F, this card's so garbage, I can't believe it. But this card's actually kind of amazing. Like, it's not great. I wish it was probably something else.
I just wish it didn't retire another rearguard, if we're being honest.
Yeah, to be fair though, if it didn't, this card would be unreasonably busted. Because here's the thing. This card's an easy 50k attack, which is great. And then on top of that, honestly, the effect is so good. Like, yeah, you gotta retire another rear guard, but looking at the 5 cards in your deck is, like, pretty good, especially when you're running 4 of the Witch of Entertainment we just talked about, and when we get to him, you're running 4 Charon, even though, again, I kind of wish he was anything else. But again, these 3 cards, Maka, Witch of Entertainment, and Charon in conjunction with each other, when you actually pull off your Maka and you pull one of those cards out, you feel so good. It's like the only time, once you get outside of the ride line, you feel good in PBD, because the value you get out of Maka-ing into the Witch of Entertainment or into a Charon is actually, really good.
It doesn't read well, but...
So don't be low on Maka, is what I'm saying. Like, this card's actually...
it reads poorly, but I believe you that you played it, so you would know.
No, it reads poorly, and again, I think honestly, as we get more PBD support, we will replace Maka and Charon, because they're not great. But as things stand in set 2, Maka is what makes the deck not be as
also,
bad.
Also, that 5k is really good too. Both of those cards.
Oh yeah, and the 15k is just great.
Yeah, the 15k is great. Also, the 5k they retire to helps the deck a lot. We have the best card in Bastion this set. Form up, O Chosen Knight, or as we're calling it, Fwok. Play this card with Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. Perform all of the effects below according to the number of your grade 3 units. 2 or more, choose one of your units, it gets power plus 5k until end of turn. 3 or more, draw a card. 4 or more, choose one of your vanguards and it gets drive plus 1 until end of turn. If you need to pick one card to add to Bastion, you're just like, I only have enough money for a playset of one card from set 2. This is the card to pick up.
Yeah, no, this is the best card Bastion got out of the set. Like, its double R and its triple R are fine and good, and again, I think there's actually a sweet Bastion deck with both of them in it.
This card's insane.
But
you get
this card's
4
insane.
Cards off of the deck, off of between your triple drive and just drawing a card. That's 4 cards.
I think this is important to see it within the context of how Bastion decks are being built, and this is just another draw 2. And the draw 2 order was already getting
you replaced the draw 2 order for sure.
And this is just a better version of this. Because it doesn't because it gives one of your units plus 5k, which I think the other one already did as well. Might have been Vanguard only on that one, but this one is anything. Then it straight draws you a card, and then it gives your Vanguard triple drive, which is so good for a variety of reasons, but especially in Bastion, like, just gives you more chances to see those grade 3s.
Really good. Play it. Wyland's Dragon. When this unit is retired for your card's cost, Counter Blast on Soul Blast on, all of your units with Blaster in their current name get power plus 5k until end of turn. A fine budget option as a PBD tire card. Gives a little extra power to Blaster Dark and Phantom Blaster Dragon. Decent. Not the best. Not the worst.
I'm very low on this card. I don't know. I would have to test with this card because I could see a world with it being good, but I feel like it's just really, really bad. But it is a common, so
Knight of Heavenly Collapse Capaldo. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, cost Counterblast 1 and rest another rearguard. Reveal the top card of your deck and put it into your hand if it is an order card or a grade 3. And call it to rearguard circle if it isn't.
Oh, man. Okay, so I've played with this card some, because we put it into PBD, because PBD needs the help, because they really did not give PBD a lot. But holy crap is this card bad. Like, holy crap. I should look at more of the PBD list. I haven't, because I'm focusing mostly on Grabmaster.
I saw one of these in Hexaorb too, which I thought was interesting.
Why? This card's so bad. It's so bad. You gotta rest another rear guard. You gotta take it out of the fight.
I don't think this card's worth playing in Hexaorb. I just went down the record.
I don't think this card's worth playing, period. I think if PBD decks are running it, it's out of desperation. I hate this card, and trust me, when you play with this card, it feels bad. It does not feel good to play this card. And I hope to God I don't have to.
Black Sage Charon. When this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard Blaster in its card name, press this unit, look at the top card of your deck, and you may call it to Rearguard Circle if it is a unit card. At the end of that turn, retire the called unit.
Okay, I've played only a little bit with Charon. And honestly, I didn't realize it was a May. And also, like, you look at it and you may call it, so you do essentially get to scry if you don't. Honestly, Charon's not great. The cost is pretty real, and it's annoying that the unit gets retired at the end of turn.
Ideally, you're resting this, you get the 5k out, you retire both to PBD.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the fact that it's a May just opens up so many possibilities. I also did this where I played this behind my Vanguard on turn 1, and then, unfortunately, I didn't hit, like, a grade 2 or grade 3 like I wanted, but I hit a random trigger, and I called it, and then in retrospect, I actually should have not done, but I called it, and then I had a Blaster Javelin behind that, and I just kind of grade 1 gamed. Like, honestly, I'm changing my mind. I actually think Charon's sweet.
It's fine.
I didn't realize it was a May. I think this card just has so much potential at every point of the game because it's a grade 1, and within the context of PBD 2, like the metrics it works on, like there's just a lot you can be doing with this card and a lot of interesting decisions and game states it leads to. So Charon's sweet. Get 4 of. Get the holo version, baby. Go nuts.
And that wraps up Keiter Sanctuary for us. Overall, I think this set, it's a kind of a mixed bag. Bastion didn't need any help, and it got they got the good order and a few decent options for you. Hexaorb got support, which it needed. PBD is a weird deck.
Yeah, mixed bag, I think, is a perfect explanation. I have hopes for PBD because I'm coming a little around on Charon. We've seen success from it already, and honestly, like, I think you can build a deck that doesn't feel bad to play, and I think that's all you really want. Because, you know, if you're chasing like tournament success, you weren't going to be playing PBD anyway. I think the big thing out of Keiter, I think what was most important was that Hexaorb got some love, because it was really in the doldrums of set 1, because it just was. And so the fact that it got like really strong, really interesting support is huge.
Yeah. That wraps up our Keiter Sanctuary. Leave a comment if you think we missed a card that we didn't talk about. Be sure to subscribe to the Vanguard Zone for more Set 2 content, including deck profiles, and I think we just need Stoicheia to go. So, like, comment, subscribe. That's Mr. NLK himself, Gianluca, and I'm Sam. I'll see you later.
Hey, baby.